with announcements. I have three. The first, oh, can you mute that? In my mic. There we go. We have three announcements tonight. First, the Board of Supervisors held an executive session on February 29th, 2024 at 9 a.m. to discuss personnel matters, specifically manager recruitment and designation of Kurt Jenner and Wynn Associates in particular as project manager on the Headquarters Road Bridge. We also discussed the Siggety Rance Mill litigation. And it lasted for about an hour. I didn't have an exact time, is that right?
It was like a half hour.
35 minutes?
Yeah.
It was 35 minutes long. The second announcement is the Board of Supervisors wanted to thank Jane Lindley. We are so grateful for the exceptional work performed by Tinicum resident Jane Lindley, who designed the new website for the township on a platform that is user-friendly and that will be easy for administrative staff and others to update. The township's new website looks clean and beautiful. It is informative and easy to navigate. The meeting and event calendar is a great new feature to let interested individuals know what meetings are happening when, and it's presented in a way that showcases many of the different ways residents of the township volunteer their time for the township, and it highlights all the good work that we're doing. I've said this probably dozens of times before, the business of the township cannot be accomplished only with the paid staff. We do rely pretty heavily on our township volunteers. And I suspect that Jane Lindley put in excess of 100 hours of her time to build us a new website. And I'm venturing a guess that she probably would have wanted to spend those hours differently, but she chose to volunteer them for the good of the township. We had an urgent call for help. She jumped right in. She created this great looking site and is continuing to give the township support until we have our administrative staff trained and comfortable with posting information on the website. So we are truly thankful for Jane's contributions. And yes, thank you. And the final announcement is simply about a program called the Whole Home Repair Program. And I'll just read a short blurb. It is a program made available through the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. The Whole Home Repairs Program was created to assist homeowners with home improvements to ensure safety and habitability, energy efficiency, and accessibility for individuals with disabilities. It's administered by the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development and locally by the Bucks County Department of Housing and Community Development and its designated partners, including Habitat for Humanity. Basically, if you are within a certain income bracket and you're a homeowner and your home is in need of repairs to make it more livable for you, including accessibility, ramps, that kind of thing, there is funding available in the form of 50% grants and 50% low interest loans. So right now, there are application acceptance periods. The first period is in April, but if you are interested, then you could go on to the Bucks County's website and look up the Whole Home Repair program on their site. There's an interest form that you can fill out, and then as soon as they open it up for applications, you can get your application in. It's a good program to do things like HVAC repair, energy efficiency improvements for insulation, windows and doors, electrical wiring, that kind of thing. Those are our announcements. Okay. Yeah, we can do that now. So the rules and procedures for public meetings and public participation and rules of conduct that we implemented at the special meeting on February 20th, they worked out really well. We uniformly got positive feedback from many people, and they are in effect tonight and for the foreseeable future. Next up, we have Emergency Services, and Chief Madden is with us.
Evening, everybody. Tinicum Township Police Department reported 276 incident reports for the month of February. 93 were for service, 49 were criminal or investigative, including 1 arrest for aggravated assault and related charges, and 2 fraud reports. 123 were for traffic, 10 for training, and 1 for court. We had 2 reportable accidents in February. Single vehicle crash on East Stark Hollow was due to a failure to maintain lane, and a single vehicle crash on East Stark Hollow was due to an environmental issue. And we've had an average of 1.8 crashes for February over the last 5 years. For those of you that aren't aware, we have co-responders that work with our department and are employed by the County of Bucks Human Services Division. They assist in addressing the social needs of individuals contacting the department. This co-response assists in decreasing the time the department spends in response to situations involving social service needs. This can include calls like mental health, drug and alcohol, hoarding, elder abuse, housing assistance, among many others. Last month, we had 3 referrals to the program for a total of 22 referrals and 156 contacts with those referrals since the inception 1 year ago. And this program's been totally funded by a grant through the county.
Chief, I have a question about that. So the,
Sure.
the 156 contacts with the referrals, are those contacts that your department and your officers would have made in the absence of this program?
Chances are those contacts would have never been made. So they're doing the follow-up work that a lot of the times gets dropped. So the goal is that we don't have repeat callers calling us for the same issues. These co-responders are connecting them with the services that they need.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Everybody love pets. We've added a pet registry to our website, and we've had 33 pets registered already in the first month. So if you haven't done so, go ahead and do that, because we get a lot of lost dogs turned into the police department. And March 28th, we're having coffee and coloring with a cop from 10 to 12 at Brigadoon. The kids are off from school that day, so you can come and give your kids an activity to do and have a cup of coffee. And all those materials were funded by the Police Foundation. So I believe that they're next up if the board wants to hear from them.
Yeah, we're happy to hear from the Police Foundation now. There are other, under emergency services, there are other matters for you. Do you want to take them now or have the Police Foundation come up?
Whichever the board would prefer. It's fine with me.
Well, why don't we hear from the Police Foundation?
Hi, thanks for listening to us tonight. My name's Sue Walsh. I'm a member of the Tinicum Township Police Foundation, along with Jason Waring, Nancy Becker, Wayne Hobson, who's here tonight, Patrick Mullaney, Rosemary Ricconi, and me. We were started about 7 years ago by 2 police chiefs before, Chief Sabbath, who said he was getting money. It's just when they would help somebody on the road or how they would just give them money, and they couldn't keep money from people. So he started a foundation where he could deposit the money into a 501c3. So it's been really successful since 2022, we've raised $30,000. That's through our mailers, which I guess everyone's probably received because we send them out maybe once or twice a year. This is the latest one, and there's more over there if you want to read them. When we send out the mailers, people tend to mail in money. We also receive monies from Tinicum Arts Festival, donations from Waring's Community Day. We have small donation boxes in various businesses around the township, like Amanda's and Waring's, Brigadoon, the Revere store. So you'll see the boxes with a little thing that says the Tinicum Police Foundation, and they fill up. It's amazing what you can get from them. And also from specific funding from individuals that see what we need. We've had someone give us money just specifically for tasers. So we've been able to raise quite a bit. And of the $30,000 we've spent, it's a long list. I'm trying to condense it for you. We did police department renovations, and specifically in cooperation with Waring's Lumber and Home Center, they did a brand new kitchen, which they needed. We've had defensive tactic training, paid for patrol cameras and memory cards, a Glock armorer training, an AED, body armor, a new window for the entrance vestibule, flares, police equipment, including transport belts and badges, road safety equipment, including flares, evidence room updates, a life vac, batteries and chargers for the chainsaws that another member of a business in our township donated. Some of our community involvement, which is funded by the foundation, is Coffee with a Cop, trunk or treat event. I guess you all know about that at Halloween. Shop with a Cop and Color with a Cop. So, and those things were all completely funded without taxpayer money. So, I think it's been a great foundation. I'm really proud of
Yes.
the work that they do. And now I'm changing hats and representing the Tinicum Civic Association, and adding to the $30,000 is our check for $1,900 donated to the foundation.
Wow.
Does anybody have any questions or?
Just out of curiosity, how frequently does the foundation board meet and where do they meet? And
Oh, right. We meet as needed because it's not a regularly scheduled meeting. When we're preparing the mailers, we meet a little more frequently, and getting ready for the arts festival, things like that. And we meet downstairs. It's what is that? It's a little meeting room below here. It's really nice, actually. It's like, it looks like a community room, but it's small. And yeah.
And if individuals want to donate, how do they do that?
Oh, right. So we have a website, Tinicum Township Police Foundation.org. And we also have a Facebook page, which will keep you up to date as well. Tinicum Township Police Foundation on Facebook. Are we on Instagram?
No,
No.
but there's a
So-
link to the
PayPal.
Facebook page, as well as they can send checks to our PO box in Irwin.
Right. So that's it. Any other
Okay.
questions?
I don't. Does
Okay.
you, John or Rich, do you have any questions?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
It's really tremendous what you do for the community. Okay, Chief? So next on the agenda is approve purchase of policy, I'm sorry. I have a hard time reading tonight. Approve purchase of police body cameras and consideration of lens lock proposal.
Yes.
Can you tell us about this?
I am hoping, right now, we currently have in-car cameras. They're kind of at the end of their life. Actually, the individual donated them through the foundation last time. So those need to be updated, as well as I'm looking to have body cameras purchased as well, which we currently do not have.
And the specific proposal that's under consideration tonight is for the body cams?
That I'm not sure of. I've sent you both for just body cameras, and then one for body cameras and in-car.
Okay, can I show you what I have and then we can make sure we're on the same page?
That's for both.
Oh, okay. The one that's.
Okay.
That's the-
Same
yeah,
thing.
okay. Very briefly, can you tell us why you believe it's important that your department have body cams?
Sure. Really, I think it's for officer protection and for the citizens. I don't see any downfall to having our interactions recorded. If there's any questions that ever come into play, I think it plays into officer safety. I really don't see any downfalls to them. I believe that they're a protection for us, the township, everybody involved.
So the videos that are recorded, where does that information go to? Is it stored offsite or here? or
With
what?
this, it would be stored in a cloud.
So there's nothing that the police officer themselves have to do to download it. It automatically goes from the recording that's being done on the body cam or the car cam, both
Once they pull into the station, there would be something that would transfer the evidence, yes,
automatically.
to the cloud.
Perfect. Thank you.
And right now, we are manually
Right,
transferring evidence, which is,
okay. So this saves a lot of time.
it does.
Thank you.
And can you talk about, do you have a policy, like a draft policy that you've considered, or do you have an idea of what you would be wanting to put into place in conjunction with implementing body cameras for your officers?
Yes, I created a sample policy a couple years ago. I would need some minor updates to it, but pretty much ready to go, and I'm happy to run it through the board and solicitor as well.
Okay. John, do you have any questions?
I think it's important. And based on some of the incidents that occurred over this weekend, that we have an incident report from the very beginning, and not when somebody decides to start to report it from the sidelines, that it protects the officer's actions. You know, sometimes things start getting reported after the incident begins, and we don't see the buildup. So, you know, for their protection, our protection, everybody's protection, it'd be good to do it.
What was the incident?
I think yeah, we should are you referring to the incident in Philadelphia?
During the incident in Philadelphia.
Okay. Been in the news.
Not here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nothing here, no.
It was not in
Philadelphia.
Tinicum.
But, you know, it's been on the news and something that,
Okay.
you know, I don't know what led up to that particular moment, you know, and I'd like to know the whole story. Thank
Okay.
you for making me straighten it out.
Yeah.
I'll get used to this.
So, for the benefit of everyone here and joining us remotely, the lens lock proposal that the board is being asked to consider tonight involves a 5-year commitment for both the body worn cameras and unlimited data, as well as an in-car video service for our 4 vehicles
Correct.
and unlimited data for the dash cams.
Yes.
The dollar amount for year 1 is $9,034.40, and that includes a one-time installation fee. And then for the remaining years 2, 3, 4, and 5, each year it costs $8,234.20. So this proposal in total is $41,971.20. So would someone like to make a motion on this proposal?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we accept this proposal, and move forward with it.
I'll second it.
Okay. And is there any public comment? I saw some jaws drop when I said the dollar amounts.
Yeah, but it's over a 5-year period, and I think you pointed that out in the beginning.
I just think that.
Okay, so for public comment, you may come up and state your name.
Sure.
And do we have the sheet?
Hi, I'm Robert DeBerry, I just think that, to John's point, I think if you can avoid one issue, it will more than pay for itself. I mean, if you get involved in litigation or something else because you don't have an accurate depiction of what really happened, I think, you know, that will be far in excess of what you have to pay per year to have the service.
Thank you.
Could you state your name, where you're from, and spell your name if you would, please, for the record?
Sure. My name is Robert DeBerdine. That's DeBerardine. And my house is at 6 Walters Lane in Point Pleasant.
Thank you.
Okay, is there any further public comment? Tim?
Hi, Tim Cashman, Quill Lane. I think it's a great idea for the police. And I think maybe to save some money, the next 3 proposals, we just forget the signage for the speed limits. Maybe we bump that to next year if we need money. Just an idea, considering what's coming up next. Thank you.
Any further public comment? Okay, I mean, I too, I think that this is pretty much standard equipment in police departments across the country, and it has been for about 10 years. So I think, and our chief wants it, and believes that our department needs it. So, we have a motion on the table. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Yes. Chief, Urban Road?
I'm looking to amend, ordinance 136 for Urban Road. It's currently posted at 40 miles an hour based on, 85th percentile. We went through and did a study using safe running speed, and it's closer to 35, so I would request that the board post that road at 35.
Excuse So I'll make a motion to post the urban road at 35 miles per hour. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? Yes.
Anita Nolan, resident. To Tim's point, are we getting new signs for all these roads that we're doing these speed limit studies on?
Chief, is Urban Road currently posted?
Yes. At 40.
Okay.
So we're gonna put,
Wait a second. You were asking, are there new signs for the new speed limits? Is that correct?
well, if it's posted currently at 40 and we're reducing it to 35, doesn't that require a new sign?
Correct?
Yes.
And how much are we spending on these signs for a 5-mile-an-hour change?
Our public works people aren't here, but they used to, and this is about a year ago, I think they came up with a cost, and that was to install new signs and everything. But what you're talking about, if I'm correct, Chief, is just replacing the sign, the 40 to 35. Is that correct?
Urban
stands
Road
are
would be
in,
just the sign.
They don't have to dig holes on their own, right? So I think the sign was, or the signs were $150. That's what I was told. I
Okay.
don't know if that's true or not.
Yeah.
So we have to talk to the public works.
But
to
it
say-
seems, doesn't it seem kind of silly for a 5-mile-an-hour change to go to the expense of putting up new signs, as, you know, when we're spending $41,000 on the body cameras? That's my question.
Chief, do you want to just respond to that? Like, what's the importance of having appropriately posted roadways?
I mean, enforcement wise, I think it's, it'll be a road that will be more enforceable if it's posted appropriately.
Okay, thanks. Is there any further public comment? Seeing none, all in favor? Oh, did we want to, do we want to send this to the planning commission for consideration or no? We've sent some speed limits to the planning commission, but not
I don't know, there,
not all.
John's a member of the planning commission. Did we do that with Sherman Road, John?
We sure did. Yeah, with Sherman Road, we received a planning commission review.
So then it should go to the planning commission.
Okay,
We're gonna be consistent with this.
All right. Table the motion.
so do I table that motion or do I
Well,
change it?
this is just to advertise, for these for this one and for Teddimer Road, they're both for advertisement, so you can complete those motions, but in that case, I would recommend then tabling the Hollow Horn Road one to send it to the planning commission, that way they can all go together. At least with the other two, we can go through with the process and advertising, and they would be ready for your next meeting then.
Okay.
I say, so the Hollow Horn Road has already been
Correct.
moved. Okay.
You did, that was done at your last meeting.
I have a question on that. Carl Ruthart. I'm on the planning commission. What would you advertise exactly if it doesn't go into the planning commission?
Well, we would just get the process, it would go to you guys. The ordinance itself has to be advertised.
I know that.
And so we would wait until it goes to you, but the idea is the authorization is there.
So you'll be advertising after
For
the
the next
planning,
meeting,
after the
yes.
planning commission.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yep.
Is that clear? I just want to be sure. Are we advertising now before the planning commission?
No,
or
no,
After the.
it would
planning
just
commission?
be authorization to advertise.
Okay,
The advertise would
But it's
be,
not going to be advertised.
correct.
Got it. Thank you.
Until after the planning commission.
Correct. And which is why I would recommend then skipping ahead to number 5, tabling that one, send to the planning commission as well, because that was not done at the last meeting.
Okay, so for Urban Road, I am,
You can vote to move forward with Urban Road, and then I would make the same recommendation for Tedman Road, yes.
okay, so then the
Fine.
motion on the table is to advertise.
Yes. And send to the planning
For-
commission.
Okay,
Send to the planning commission and then advertise.
Yeah.
yes, of course.
On Tenemer Road, I saw that you want to reduce it
Yeah,
or
we're not-
post it at
Mhm.
20 miles an hour. Is there any reason for that?
We'll
Jason?
get to that one. in a
We'll get to
second.
Teddimer.
Yeah, just.
We're not at
Oh,
Teddimer
Oh,
yet.
you're not there.
No, we're
Okay.
still in Urban.
Okay.
Because the motion that I put out, I'm trying to remember what it was.
It was for-
And was
To
it
advertise.
on to advertise?
Okay.
Okay. And I will add to that motion to also send this to the planning commission for review. That's the motion on the table. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Now we're on to Teddimer Road. Chief?
Yes. We conducted a speed study on Teddimer Road using safe running speed, and we determined that the speed would be 20 miles an hour for that road if we were to post it. The board had asked that we conduct the studies on all of the dirt roads. This was one of them. And we've had a resident that's reached out inquiring if this road was going to be posted, which is why I asked that we put it on the agenda tonight.
Do you have a sense of what the traffic volume is on Teddimer Road?
If I were to guess, it's low.
Low as in like fewer than 10 a day?
I could not say.
I know. Okay,
Probably a less
So that's the
frequented
good
road.
thing about it going to the planning commission. So they
That's
can
right.
Look at all of that.
so then may I have a motion to advertise the establishing a uniform speed limit of 20 miles per hour on Teddimer Road and to send this to the planning commission for review?
You made a motion?
I'm asking for one.
Second?
Okay,
Oh, I'll make a motion. Go ahead.
No second.
okay. Any public comment? Yes.
Yeah, Catherine Auerbach, Center Road. Certainly, I concur that it doesn't seem to warrant the expense. It is a road that would be difficult to travel too much faster. And you have to post these signs in increments? How, so you're putting up a number of signs, actually,
That's correct.
quite a few. And so it's actually a very scenic road. I think it is listed as a scenic road. So that would go contrary to that purpose as well. And in the procedure that you're recommending, it's awkward to think that you are recommending to advertise if you haven't heard from the planning commission yet, because they may recommend a change, or they might recommend that you not do this. And so it seems odd that you're bundling your advertising of this with sending it to the planning commission. I think you should condition your advertisement against planning commission's approval. And if they have questions, then you're not advertising it.
Right. I mean, if the planning commissions, if in their minutes, they recommended to the board that we not make these changes to the speed limits on either of these roads that we've discussed, then we wouldn't advertise. We would just bring it back for the board to discuss at the next business meeting.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't come across clear in your motions that you made. So that's
Okay.
where I think it might be better to state you're sending it to the planning commission, and should they approve it, then you would do that. But the Teddimer Road, I don't think that's necessary.
Okay. Thank you,
you.
Kathy. Okay. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And the final item,
Oh.
Chief, is the hollow horn. This isn't.
It's already done. She's already done.
Oh, my
Yeah.
mistake. We did that at the last
You did
meeting.
last meeting, so yeah, I'd recommend tabling consideration of the ordinance to send to the planning commission then to be
Perfect.
consistent.
Yep. And we don't need a motion for that.
No, you don't.
Okay, good. Okay, we have arrived at our first round of public comment. If you wish to make public comment, you may come up to your right here and state your name. And, we have, I guess we'll do the time.
Hi, Larry Brandt, resident and president of the Tinicum Civic Association. I just wanted to take a moment to let everyone know that on March 24th, we're having our spring social where we invite the community to thank our volunteers and to talk about what we're planning for the year with the Stoker Mill Gallery, with the Tinicum Arts Festival, et cetera. It'll be from 3 to 6 p.m. At the Ottsville Firehouse. And it's a potluck. Thanks, Sue. Our ex-president is chiming in. Thank you. So that's pretty much it. Thank you.
Hi, Cindy Gasparri. I just want to encourage everyone that's here to check out the poster for the BEST initiative, which is the Backyard Environmental Stewardship in Tinicum. There's a QR code there. You can sign up and participate. It's a 3-part series. We're going to kick it off at the Earth Day Fair on Sunday, April 21st. There are 2 one-hour sessions that you can sign up for either one of those 1-hour sessions. And then we'll have 2 more sessions in June and in the fall. And we will have materials for residents to help them work on their yards, getting rid of invasives and planting native plants. And if you're watching on Zoom, you can go to the website for tinicumbucks.org and you'll see the sign up there on the homepage. Thanks.
Yes, and this, the BEST initiative is made possible through a grant by the Lower Delaware Wild and Scenic River Management Council.
Kelly Kendall, Arena Valley Way. I wanted to see what the status is of the executive search for the township manager position. Are you still using the Lafayette College agency section? for that?
So I will address that question, but I just want to remind everybody about the rules that we've implemented. The public comment session is not interactive,
Gotcha.
but I
Mhm.
take your question, Kelly, and
Okay.
I know it's on everyone's mind.
Okay, thank you. And secondly, I just noticed on the new website that the 2024 budget is still not up. Just a comment. And then also, if you can confirm who the treasurer is. I don't know if Eleanor, you had mentioned it when you did the reorganization, but I know on the website Terry's name's on there. So I just wanted confirmation of who that was.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further public comment? Sure.
You spoke, I'm a resident. So when you say not interactive, that means people ask questions and you're not going to answer them?
Right. It means that when public comes and make a comment, it's their opportunity to comment on what the board is deciding this evening or matters of general concern. To make sure that we have enough time for everyone to speak at every meeting, we've implemented these rules. There's a copy.
I have a copy. but
Right.
I didn't see where it said you don't answer questions.
Yep. It's
But
in there.
isn't that, I find that disrespectful, to be honest. We're residents, and if we're up here asking a question, I think it's common courtesy to answer the question. It's my comment.
Thank you. Any further public comment? Moving on. Old business. Oh, Kurt, would you like to give us the update on the Headquarters Road Bridge?
Yes, thank you. Microphone on. At the last meeting, there was some questions about plans. So I am leaving a copy of each plan with the township. It'll be at the township building that residents can inspect. There's a draft GP11 plan set that is contemplated for
submission to DEP that we're still in the process of finalizing. I anticipate about approximately 2 more weeks until we're able to submit a plan to DEP for permitting of the rehabilitation in kind project. There is also a PennDOT plan for comparison, just showing the layout of the PennDOT proposal. Last week, I met with a surveyor on site, and we did the survey work. We started the field survey work, and we, as far as doing all the topography, stream cross sections. We've also completed a drone survey of the area. I've created a 3D model of that drone survey information, and we're tentatively scheduled to do additional boundary survey work to tie in easements to Mr. Goodamel's property. The solicitor is working on agreements and the PennDOT turnback items.
Okay, ask a question. Kurt, that plan you gave me at the meeting that we had at the firehouse, that, is that the plan?
Yes, that's the same.
That was a soil erosion control plan, right?
It's a general GP11 permit plan set.
Okay, so it's only really for soil erosion control. It's not the plan about how you're gonna go about constructing the bridge.
Correct. And that's
So it's a
good.
time and
I've been-
material job. Is that correct?
Well, so the plan is from the permitting standpoint. It is not the structural design because McMullen and Associates, actually, that's one of the agenda items, has submitted the proposal to do all of the design and structural and potentially architectural plans for the structure.
Okay,
So
so-
this is the erosion control,
Right.
grading, the stream restoration component of that for permitting.
Okay, I just wanted to be clear. It's not the plan for the construction of the bridge. That's coming once we approve McMullen.
Correct. That's under a separate proposal.
Thank you.
That's later in the agenda.
Scott, did you have any update on the contracts and agreements?
We're working with the Wood Tiger to finalize that agreement. We're expecting something in the next day or so. They are complying with what we required. One of the items we have on here under new business is establishing the bank account where they will be depositing the money.
Okay, thank you. Number 2 under old business, and it is under old business because it's the Headquarters Road Bridge project, but I would like to make a motion to designate Wynn and Associates to be the project manager for the Headquarters Road Bridge project.
I'll second that.
Okay. All, any public comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We have received a proposal from McMullen and Associates, and McMullen and Associates is the engineering firm where Doug Bond is where he works. And the, excuse me, the proposal is dated February 20th, but we got this, we had a lot on our plate that day. And we were not going to be adding this to that agenda. We needed time to go over it and to discuss some of the terms with our solicitor. There are some elements of this that I think can be strengthened from the township's perspective to better just make the terms more reasonable for the township. I've gone over my concerns with our solicitor. I believe Rich has tonight as well. What I would like to do is authorize the approval of this proposal subject to reaching an agreement with regard to certain material terms of the contract.
Yeah, that's fine. Basically, what you would be asking for is, what you'll be doing is then conditionally approving it, subject to McMillan's acceptance of our revisions.
Okay. So, go ahead.
Maybe you want to just advise the township of some of the things that we're
Sure.
concerned about, just briefly.
Yeah,
Go on.
so this agreement has, let's see, It has 6 sections, and each section has multiple parts. In the first section, first section is background. It's kind of just general context, nothing material there in terms of terms. Section 2 is general obligations of the engineer. It identifies McMullen and Associates and the purpose that they would be being engaged, and the standard of care that they lay out, which is likely customary language in their structural engineering service agreements. Section 3 is basic scope of services, and there are 6 paragraphs under this section, including construction phase services, which contemplate up to 5 visits or meetings for construction observations on site, including pre-construction and pre-final walkthrough meetings. It lays out an anticipated schedule for the delivery of their services under this proposal. So additional survey, including stream cross sections in 1 month's time, 50% plans for Wynn McMullen internal coordination, 2-month time frame. Submit pre-final plans for township and Wood Tiger review, 2-month time frame. Review meeting with the township and interested parties to go over the plans and address comments, 1-month time frame. Prepare final plans and specifications for bid, 2-month time frame, and review bids and recommend award, 1-month time frame. And Kurt, correct me if I'm wrong, some of these time frames, there's some overlapping time, or they could be contracted.
Yeah, best estimates of timing based on the agency coordination. So I'd summarize that at the February 20th meeting. Sorry. I summarized that at the February 20th meeting, whereas the total of time was approximately 9 months.
Okay. And section 5 addresses fees and payment. The total lump sum fee for the services, including final plans and specs, final plans and specifications, and a construction phase fee and travel expenses totaling $94,000. And again, this is an expense that would be paid for by the monies provided by the Wood Tiger Fund pursuant to the agreement that the township adopted at the last meeting by resolution or accepted by resolution at the last meeting. In terms of provisions in this agreement that we will want to kind of strengthen, specifically in section 6, general conditions, paragraph 5, risk allocation. In this proposal, McMullen and Associates is proposing that they limit their liability to an amount not exceeding $1 million. This is something that I flagged when I saw it. To me, that seems too low. Rich agrees. I'm sure John agrees, but we haven't checked in. And then this is something, though, that our solicitor will be in talks with McMullen and Associates. And, you know, like all terms in an agreement, they are subject to being negotiated, right? So we'll just increase that limit to a number that makes the township feel comfortable with engaging their services. The other terms were simply, there's a clause in here for dispute resolution. So if there's any dispute between the parties, which would be the township and McMullen, as to any terms or services provided pursuant to this contract, that it would be subject to non-binding mediation with a specified mediator who's based in Virginia. And obviously, we don't mind non-binding mediation, but we would prefer somebody in Pennsylvania. And then this requests that the governing law that governs the contract itself and any disputes that may arise thereunder be governed by Virginia law. And because we're in Pennsylvania, the bridge is in Pennsylvania, it seems to me that Pennsylvania law should apply. But these are provisions in this proposal that need to be negotiated. So I would like to make a motion to conditionally approve this proposal subject to the negotiation of
Acceptable.
acceptable terms.
Accept-
Acceptable. May, may I have anyone, may I have a motion? Sorry.
I made the motion. You
I
made the
made the motion. Do I have a second? Not 100%.
John
did I?
seconding it?
Yeah, I'll second.
There you go. Now discuss.
Okay, any public comment? Sure.
My name is Wesley Swip, I'm a resident. So as you were talking about the McMillan, are they a structural engineer?
Yes.
They're the structural. So is there any other design associated with this project? Architecturally, electrically, civil?
The civil and the permitting side is our office would be handling from One Associates.
Okay.
The structural, the material finishes, I guess we call it architectural, is part of the McMullen proposal.
And then all the costs are going to be paid for by Wood Tiger?
Correct.
Okay, so the township isn't going to incur any costs for the bridge, the design, anything, right?
That's correct.
Okay, that's my question. Thank you.
Mhm. Any further public comment? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay, under new business, we're just going to jump around a little bit. We have, we go to your matter. Okay, come on up if you want to. So this is number 4 under zoning. I'm really up. Conditional use zoning. This is a zoning hearing board application ZHB 2024-2, Tara and Robert DeBerardine, 6 Walters Lane, Point Pleasant, tax map parcel numbers 44-034-004-002. Zoned Village Center, it's 0.788 acres. The applicant who's present here this evening is requesting relief for a deck and stairs that have been installed in the floodway without permits. For the board to decide tonight is whether or not we're sending either the solicitor or the floodplain administrator to the zoning hearing board hearing, which is scheduled for March 14th. And,
I have no problem if you want to send either or both.
okay.
And do you want to hear or do you have any questions? I'd be happy to answer any questions or explain things or whatever you need.
I've read the,
Turn on your mic.
I've read the planning commission minutes and I don't really have any question other than what was already asked by the planning commission.
Okay.
And I've also discussed it with them. I think I was not there that night, but I've discussed it with the
Yeah, they were great. And
vice
I
chair.
think we covered everything. And
Yeah.
so,
Just for my benefit, just encapsulate what the plan commission recommended or
Well, the planning commission has recommended that we send at least the floodplain administrator and perhaps also the solicitor. The zoning officer is in question. The zoning officer did provide a rather detailed letter to the planning commission explaining the zoning officer's actions. And I don't know if it's necessary to send him also. But the floodplain administrator should certainly go. And I would say the solicitor might be wise also.
and they would be going because they're objecting to this? Is that?
Yeah, the main objection is that it was built in the floodway rather, without permit. And that there's question as whether it has I think serious question as to whether it qualifies for either variance or special exception.
Okay, thank you.
and the key issue for us is, when we learned that we had to get a permit, we were told we had an option. One was to remove it, or the other was to go through and get the DEP and the FEMA approvals. And we did that, and that took a lot of time and a lot of money. And had we known, and it's even with the Wynn Associates, the engineers, we got a letter from them on May 1st, 2023, where they said you had to do these certain things. And we had correspondence before that on August 12th of 2021. And we also had correspondence with the township during that time period. And no one ever brought up this point that it really doesn't belong there. Our thought is that we had to get the permits, and that's what the township was upset about, and we understood that. We didn't realize that we had to get the permits. That's my fault. But we were never told until we had done everything. My poor wife spent hundreds of hours doing this, and she's very upset, but we had sent everything in after my wife spent a lot of time trying to find engineers and doing all that stuff. She sent in the application, and it wasn't until February 15th of this year that Wynn Associates again sent us a letter, and this time they listed things and they said, oh, by the way, this is prohibited. And if they had told us it was prohibited back on August 12th of 2021, or when I talked to the building person on August 24th, 2021, or any time when we have multiple communications until February 15th of 2024, if someone had told us it was prohibited, we wouldn't have spent all that money and all that time.
So you started this in 2021?
2020, and we
Wait.
haven't, and we removed the stairs, and we've been without the stairs since then. Because we got a stop building order, so we took the stairs out, and we've left this there. And again, my fault. I didn't realize I needed to get a permit for doing that. And I had thought that they were really upset about, we had proposed putting something in the river, and they said, no, you can't do that. So we said, okay, they had told us we could replace the stairs. We didn't realize we needed to get a permit to do that. So we did it. And that's my fault. And if I have to remove the deck, all the money spent on the deck, that's my responsibility. That's not, I don't have no complaint about that whatsoever. I had only wished that if someone had told us right in the beginning, there's no reason to get the FEMA, which cost over $20,000. There's no reason to get the DEP, which cost over $5,000, because we're not going to allow you to do it because it's prohibited. I just don't understand why that wasn't explained to us before we did all this work. And so I'm hoping we can, and that's why I think it'd be great to have counsel there. I think it'd be great to have whoever you think it needs to be there, because what I'm trying to do is kind of come up with a fair way of doing this so that, we reach a place that I think is, expresses justice. And the fact that, there's my fault for doing it without a permit, no doubt about that. But it wasn't my fault for doing the FEMA and the DEP, because we were asked to do that. And we were never told that I even have a letter. I even have a letter that says, once you get the FEMA, and then once you get the DEP, then you send it to me. And I'll approve the
In
construction.
August of 21, would that have been Tom Fountain?
No.
No, this was Jim.
The building inspector?
Yeah. So he said to us, and we were working with him and we were working with Terry.
Terry Lewis.
Yes.
Let's be clear, because we have a Terry for.
Not Terry. I met Terry before. And so we were working with them, and all along they said, well, you have to do this and you have to do this. And we thought that if we did it, we would get it. We thought that when we knew we were wrong for not having the permit at first, but we thought we would get these permits and then it would be approved. If we had known.
So they did send you a letter though, saying if you get those things, then it'll be fine?
Yeah, I have.
Oh, you have a letter?
I have a letter from Wynn, dated May 1st, 2023. And I have an email correspondence from February 22nd of 2023. And this is, by the way, it took us that long to find someone. We contacted every engineering company in Bucks County. Finally, one said, oh, you should try Princeton Hydro. And so we contacted Princeton Hydro, and they're the ones that did the no rise. We had to show that this platform that we made to anchor the stairs, which is 300 square feet. The Wynn Associates had it right in their first letter on May 1st, 2023. On February 15th, 2024, they said it was over 500 square feet. That's not right. I went down there and measured it today just to make sure it's 16 by 12 and a half, which comes out to exactly 300 square feet. So we had a letter that said, do these things. I have correspondence with Jim that says, do these things. I have correspondence with Terry. My wife does. My wife did all the work, by the way. She did most of this work. I'm just here because she's taking care of bunnies. We have a bunny that's sick and she's home with the bunny.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you said that Wynn Associates, Kurt, are you
Yeah.
aware of anything with that?
So I saw the February letter, and the February letter was based on a floodplain, or basically just on a cursory review of the zoning hearing board request. And what I received, first off, did not request relief from all the applicable ordinance sections. And actually, I don't recall it requesting relief from the floodplain ordinance. I think the sections that were referenced were from, I believe, Tinicum Township, Delaware County. So the information that was submitted, and this was just a part of a cursory review of a zoning hearing board application. This did not come in even as a floodplain permit application. But this work is within a floodway, requires a floodway or a floodplain permit be processed. And anybody should be aware of FEMA regulations. If you're building in a floodway, you need a permit for those structures. So the comments that we offered in the February letter were more advisory to say that you asked for relief from certain zoning sections, but you didn't ask for relief from the required floodplain sections. And to my knowledge, that application has not been revised to even include the relief that would be required from the floodplain ordinance.
Yeah, so,
If I may, just for
Yeah.
a moment, our decision here is whether we should send our floodplain administrator and our solicitor, not to hear the whole case.
No, but
Sure.
I think Kurt just raised a point. There's no point in doing the zoning hearing board hearing when all the sections of relief that he needs to be considered aren't on the application.
Right.
So what are you going to do to make your application complete?
I've been trying, and maybe I have to hire a lawyer. I was trying to work with the township. I'm surprised, really. I've been in law for 40 years. And I think working with the township should never be adversarial. We were having communications, and my wife tried to do this, to tell you the truth. And please, are you from Wynn?
Yes, I'm Kurt Jenner. I'm
Hi, Kurt.
appointed this year as the floodplain
Yeah,
administrator.
so Kurt, please look at your letter from May 1st of 2023. It's significantly different than February 15th of 2024. The structure was there since spring of 2021.
Mr. Jabaruddin, have you had a professional services meeting? Have you scheduled a time to meet with Kurt?
No, I haven't.
I think
and
that would be
I
helpful.
would love to do that. 'Cause
Okay, I think that
we're
we're
trying
on,
to do this right.
yeah,
We
and
really
we're
are.
on a clock with the application that you have pending.
Okay.
So if you're willing to waive the clock
Sure.
so that we have some breathing room here, we don't have to
Absolutely.
rush into this hearing, that will give you time to schedule an appointment to meet with Kurt. And it may involve you paying some additional funds for his professional time.
Okay.
But then you can at least understand what you need to do.
Right,
because
exactly.
I don't think you do yet.
You're absolutely right.
Okay,
Thank you, Miss.
sure. So
you.
Scott, what do we do to do this waiver?
So I'm gonna give you my card. Give me a call tomorrow. Because I did see something that came across my email today. There was some sort of attempted revision. You submitted something additional to the township last week, correct?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, so one of the issues there is originally the original application was only for the special exception. The zoning officer identified some areas where variances would be needed as well. I think that's what you tried to update. But because of the way things are advertised and done, because it wasn't included in your original application, the zoning hearing board's meeting for March 14th, they would not be able to hear that based on advertising requirements. So what we can do is we can talk about a waiver of the time clock as well as what you would need to do to get all the relief in front of the board. So give me a call tomorrow and I'll help you go through that.
Great, Scott. Thank
And
you.
Scott, do you think you would need to attend that also?
I think it would be a good idea. for me to
I
attend
think
it
so
as well.
too.
Sure, great.
So that's what you're scheduling.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
fantastic.
But my recommendation would be, we'll have that meeting, but you'll want to, and I'll talk about this with you tomorrow, but waive the time clock and ask for a continuance to make sure your application is complete.
Great.
Scott, if I may just ask a question here, should this fall apart and they still have the zoning hearing board meeting? He still has his hearing? It's scheduled on the zoning hearing board.
You can, I mean,
But if he fails to do what we're telling him to do, I still want to have the recommendation that should this hearing take place, that we send our.
oh, yes,
floodplain
you can still, yes,
administrator.
you can still do
So
that as
that's
well,
what I'm
yeah.
saying is,
Yeah.
right now, that's what we're looking
Mhm.
to do with this motion. And that way we're covered in the event that this fails to occur.
Correct, yes.
Then we can go ahead, and if
Yeah.
this hearing happens as it's scheduled now,
Mhm.
we will send the floodplain administrator and the solicitor, should we pass this motion.
Great,
I just want to cover all of our bases.
absolutely. Whatever works
Need
for
a
you.
motion for that, though?
Yeah, I would still do the motion to, if you,
So-
to send whoever you're
Okay,
planning to
Yeah, in
send.
case things fall apart.
sure.
I'm optimistic that they don't, but in case they do, let's make sure our bases are
Mhm.
covered.
Sure.
So the motion's out there. I make a motion that we send to the zoning hearing board proceedings on scheduled for March 14th, 2024 in this case. We send both the floodplain administrator and our solicitor.
I'll second.
Thank you for your help.
All in
Art.
favor?
Oh, sorry.
Aye.
Thank you for your help. Really
Mhm.
appreciate it. Thank you
Sure.
for putting up with me. I appreciate it.
Continuing to skip around under new business, number 7, consideration of updated resolution regarding the Devil's Tea Table. Mr. Freeman?
Sure.
Very, very briefly, we have received the draft resolution that you submitted. And it's under consideration tonight with no changes.
Okay, great. And I appreciate you considering that. In 2021, the Board of Supervisors passed an initial resolution. And it was very helpful. It was at the request of the Lower Delaware Wild and Scenic Management Council, Devil's Tea Table Alliance, a number of local residents. And it was in support of the Kingwood Township, a similar resolution. Following that, we and others were able to get virtually every municipality from here to Salisbury, and on the New Jersey side from Frenchtown to West Amwell, to pass similar resolutions. So I think it was 10 municipalities, or 9 or 10, plus the county. That was very helpful. Other political action helped us kind of encourage New Jersey Department of Transportation to start some kind of consultation with a community group that was put together by the Kingwood Township, a board of Township Committee, not Board of Supervisors, different over there, and also other agencies, Lenape Valley, Lenape, the tribal nation of Pennsylvania, and similar organization in New Jersey, Lower Delaware Wild and Scenic, National Park Service. And that started in, it was a long promised community involvement to get community input into the options New Jersey wanted to do regarding this rockfall mitigation project. So it's been, there's been 5 meetings now, and the I think there's kind of the situation's reached kind of a stalemate. And, with New Jersey Department of Transportation not really willing to entertain alternatives proposed by the community, not really willing to endorse a meaningful environmental impact process. So Kingwood recently passed another resolution, and talking with folks on the working group, of which I'm a part of, and the National Park Service and the Lower Delaware Wild and Scenic, we've started to ask municipalities to pass follow-up resolutions to the ones they passed in the past, to try to kind of bring the issue back to the surface, hopefully create a little bit more pressure for NJDOT to be, I think, more forthcoming and be in more good faith. So we did submit some language for you to consider. I don't see any liability to the township here, as there was not in the past. Tinicum is, this project runs from the Devil's Tea Table to Byram. And it directly faces Tinicum. Tinicum is probably the most impacted municipality outside of Kingwood Township, New Jersey. Viewscape will be damaged, the environment will be damaged. River's very narrow. A lot of the communities, Point Pleasant, Bridge 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, all will be impacted, as well as tourism business and a number of other things. I don't want to go into the whole the whole project there, but we would be happy if you wanted more information on the problems with this to make another time to do that. But we hope to that you would pass a follow-up resolution now, kind of refreshing the old one, if you would, and showing continued commitment
And,
to
and
this issue.
in this one, the specific request that seems to be new is that this board would be calling upon the New Jersey DOT to pause moving forward with the rockfall mitigation project for Route 29 in Kingwood Township until completion of an independent environmental impact statement process, economic impact study, public hearings, and consultation with and approval from Tinicum and Kingwood Townships, the National Park Service, and the Delaware River Scenic Byway Committee. Is that environmental impact statement and the economic impact study, are those new requests that you're making?
They were not included in Tinicum's earlier resolution. They were included, some of those were included in Kingwood and other resolutions. That is kind of the ask. The the New Jersey Department of Transportation has proposed a number of alternatives, but they wish to do the absolute minimum environmental impact, and will continue to fight to do the minimal in that regard. So we think that that's kind of a real safety net to really assure that what they do, if it's so important to public safety, which there's no record of any accidents or injuries ever on this road because of rockfall, that they at least and we're talking about spending $35 million in Kingwood and another $25 million in Lambertville and West Amwell, mostly all federal dollars. That that they really kind of do it right. And so that's why that language is in there. It would be helpful to have that stated.
Okay.
So what you're saying is the original resolution that we supported Kingwood Township in their efforts to protect this, that's no longer good?
Sure, it's.
So then why do we need another one? I'm not sure I follow.
Well, the Kingwood passed another one, mainly because this was 3 years ago and the issue continues.
Okay, but
It's,
so what you're saying then is Kingwood passed a new one recently. So why couldn't we just support Kingwood in their efforts to get the DEP to do the economic and the environmental studies that they need to do? The same as what we did the last time. We're supporting them again. Why wouldn't that be the language that we would?
that would be helpful. I guess the point is, I think we're trying to make the point that it's a current and ongoing issue. So we're trying to get
And we're supporting them in their efforts to do that.
well,
We're showing support.
would you pass a resolution that had that language?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm only.
So-
talking for myself.
No, I don't think
I'm
no one is
talking for myself.
married to that language.
Okay.
No one's married to
Yeah,
that language.
So Rich, sorry, my foot, I'm caught in the wires. Is there specific language in the draft resolution that you would prefer to edit out? What is that?
Well, I can't, well, I'm looking at it the first time tonight, okay, because I just got it tonight. But what I want is the language that we used before, basically saying that Tinicum is supporting is it Kingwood Township? It was only
Yes.
Kingwood Township. Maybe
Kingwood
we
Township.
supported some other township also. In their efforts and all of the language that you want to use, environmental impact statements, so on and so forth, all of that language, but we're there to support Kingwood Township.
But yeah, and that's fine. But I don't think you want to
I don't know that I feel uncomfortable telling the DOT what they have to do.
Sure,
I'd rather
sure.
the
But they're-
officials in Kingwood Township tell them what to do.
well, they're
And
they're-
say,
that-
hey, we
look,
got support of the communities in
that
Pennsylvania.
very helpful, very helpful. It's just that this project is also going to damage Tinicum Township. It's going to damage its viewscape. It's going to damage its tourist business. The river's not that wide. They're talking about massive blasting. So
Then we
there's
could
real
say
damage
something,
to,
then we could say,
involved here.
because we're concerned about that the impact on
Yeah.
visual or scenic views and everything are important.
Environment.
Therefore, we want to support Kingwood Township
Yeah.
in all of their efforts. That's
Yeah,
more what I
this
would.
is really an effort to kind of help politically to keep this issue before the public and before the elected officials. Certainly, no one's bound by it. These resolutions have been very helpful in garnering support and getting folks to discuss this issue.
So Steve, we have, this year, we've started having one business meeting a month.
Mhm.
So this board won't convene again until the beginning of April, the first Tuesday of April. Do you have anything like on the calendar in between now and then
Yeah.
where you would really like to have
Um,
a second resolution from Tinicum in your hand?
The sooner the better, but New Jersey, the Department of Transportation is really slow walking this, and that's part of the reason we want to get this now. We've had 5 of these meetings about a month or 6 weeks apart. The last meeting we had with them was December 10th. And, so we're now 3 months out, and they won't even answer questions about when they're going to meet again. And they've kind of said off the record to the National Park Service that we don't expect to get consensus, and we're trying to, maybe we can make friends with you guys to back down. So the sooner the better. But I don't see, it being the end of the world to last, to this time in April.
We can always continue our meeting for the next meeting that we're having, that we can just continue it
Perfect.
for the language that we want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is
That could be an option.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
this was pieced together from the initial Tinicum resolution plus the Kingwood and a few other Lambertville resolutions that, it just kind of pulled
Sure.
different clauses together. And
I
different
can,
data.
I can see the value in keeping this fresh, keeping it alive with an updated resolution. And I don't have any doubt that this rockfall mitigation project would impact Tinicum residents and property owners. I don't have any doubt. So, Scott, what are our options if we want to maybe review these, edit them, and then come to an agreement on the terms, maybe sometime before the first Tuesday in April? What, do we have an option to do that or no?
I mean, we're dealing with resolution here, so it's not
Right.
necessarily a legal document other than it's volitional. Outside of, sort of adopting it tonight or making the changes tonight, you probably would have to wait till the April meeting just to get the language.
You can't continue the meeting
could do
for
that.
that particular item
I mean,
for the next meeting that we have in 2 weeks,
The work session.
the work session?
work session. Well, if it's advertised as a work session, it's not voting.
But you can continue a meeting, so you can change that to the continuing of a meeting. And just work on that, end that meeting, and then start the work session.
You're saying continuing it as a separate one is what you're saying, sort of, yeah.
Yes, same day.
Yeah.
Or we could approve this tonight on the condition that we reach agreement on terms at the
Yeah, you could do it.
At-
That would be the
at the
easier way to
third
do it.
Tuesday.
I'm okay with that. as long as
Okay.
We have an
Why
opportunity.
don't we do that? And,
Okay.
I didn't hear from you.
That's
Sorry.
fine.
Okay. So for that reason, do we have to read the whole resolution tonight? Okay. So then I will make a motion that we approve this resolution on the Devil's Tea Table on the condition that we take it up at our work session and reach an agreement as to amended language.
Yeah, it's just
Is that
this
good?
one, really this one
Yeah.
paragraph. That's
Okay,
okay. You made that motion?
I've made the motion.
Second?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. Thank you
Thank-
so much, Mr.
thank you
Freeman.
very much.
Yes. Okay, so now we're going back in order. New business number 1, we have to approve a resolution to establish a special project account named the Headquarters Road Bridge Fund at Penn Community Bank and review other Penn Community Bank accounts. So this, Terry, this is this motion. Oh, no, this is the
Sorry,
corporate authorization.
Resolution out there at you. Yes.
Okay.
That's the one we want to deal with. That's, it's on.
So this is basically,
Oh,
because the offer from the Wood Tiger Fund that the Board of Supervisors accepted by resolution at the last meeting on February 20th contemplates an initial payment of $1 million to the township and then a schedule of payments until we reach $3 million. We want to make sure that, you know, where that money's going, we know obviously where it's going. We want to set up a dedicated checking account for the Headquarters Road Bridge funding. Will we be rolling into this account, Terry, the funds already received from Wood Tiger?
yes, that would be the idea. In the past, what we have done is that as you know, we've had a relationship with Wood Tiger, the Wood Tiger Fund, for about a year now, and they have been paying various expenses. We've been just received a short time ago a $40,000 check. Now, those monies have been deposited in what we have called an escrow account with Penn Community Bank. And that's perfectly fine. They were small amounts of money. They're easily accounted for. However, we're entering the big time now, and we're looking at $1 million. So I thought that the board would want to consider a standalone special project fund account specifically for and only for headquarters road bridge transactions. So all the revenues, all the disbursements, and only headquarters road bridge activities, financial activities, will flow through that particular fund. And in my conversations with Penn Community Bank, which I understand that not too long ago, you folks opened up accounts with Penn Community. We have our general fund, and we also have our escrows in escrow accounts in Penn Community. That was a natural place to go with this. They will be providing the township with a 4.25% interest rates on these monies, and they will allow us to cut checks from this fund somewhere in the order of $6, $7 a month, which I think would be more than enough. I don't, unless I'm really missing this, I don't see too much activity in the way of check cutting going forward. So that.
Right, not for this year. I don't think we'll exceed 7 checks a month.
Well, I think the
within
reason
calendar
for
year.
that is because it's a money market account. Is that correct?
Correct.
So they only allow 6 transactions.
Precisely.
But you can transfer in one of those transactions to a checking account with the same title, and you can write as many checks as you want. So if that comes up, we
Yeah.
have that option.
You got it. Thank you, sir.
So under consideration is approving the bank's corporate authorization resolution, which is a form document that they use in these circumstances. Tinicum Township is being referred to as a corporation in this. And which part of this do I need to read, Scott, if any?
Don't need to read it.
Okay. So this is basically to open up this bank account for the purpose of these funds. So I make the motion to execute the corporate authorization resolution to open up this account for the Headquarters Road Bridge funds at Penn Community Bank.
Second.
All in favor?
Oh,
Oh, I'm sorry, public comment. Yes, Anita. My head was down.
Anita Nolan, resident. I'm not a banking expert. However, I'm wondering about the FDIC insurance. Is that only for individuals or does it also apply for something like this? And if you have all your monies there, maybe it would be better to have it somewhere else. I don't know the answer, but I'm just asking.
Well, it's an excellent question because the FDIC only insures up to
Up
two.
$250,000.
So, but what do big businesses do? I mean, they.
Well, I
know,
understand, but
um,
is it all, every account, or is it each account gets 250,000? I don't know the answer to that. Does it apply to corporations? I don't know the answer to that, but I
It
think
applies
it's
to
worth
group.
looking into.
But, it's something, I think the authorization is correct and we should be doing that. But maybe, Terry, we should think about with Penn Community of opening up several of them to cover the FDIC insurance if we're concerned about that. Now, if it was my personal money, I'd be concerned about it, to be honest with you. But you can do Headquarters Road Bridge 1 account, Road Bridge 2 account. It's all Headquarters Road Bridge, but you can separate the funds to the maximum FDIC insurance.
I don't know if that would work or not. I will tell you that this is not without a reason to be concerned because when I was working, I was following bank failures every week, and a lot of these small banks were failing, and now we're starting to see an upswing in that again. So I'm just throwing it out there as something to consider.
Sure, I appreciate that. And when this popped up, Terry and I did talk about the FDIC limit, and we were looking at the dollar amounts of the other accounts that we have.
Yeah. That was an excellent point that was an excellent point. This is not an uncommon problem at all within government organizations. We're certainly not the only township or city who has way more than 250,000 in various banks. Now, I'm having to search back into my memory, but I do recall that there might be, and this is something for Scott to consider, maybe he can help us with this, collateralization agreements of sorts with the banks, something that provides the township with a little extra security should something go wrong. And I don't know exactly what form that would take, but I know that I have been involved in the past with agreements such as that. Now, hopefully I'm characterizing it, titling it correctly, but I would ask perhaps if Scott would help me with that and see if my memory is correct.
It's something, yeah, we can look into. Yeah, it's not something I've done.
It's like an insurance policy.
It's basically beyond the FDIC. The FDIC, federally deposit insured insurance. You're basically getting the bank to also insure your money. Yeah.
I guess this wouldn't be as big of a problem if it was a really large bank, even though they could fail too, but generally the government usually bails them out. It's the smaller bank that has probably got some concern, but we should look into it.
Yeah,
I think that's
excellent idea.
Thank you, Anita.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And if I may.
Yes.
Just one other item, as I mentioned, we have a few other accounts, general fund, payroll and escrow accounts. We've had them for a while with Penn Community Bank, and we've by the way, Penn Community Bank, as far as I'm concerned, is an excellent bank. We used them when I was way back in the good old days with Lower Makefield Township, their manager there. We brought them on board and they did a fine job for Lower Makefield Township. However, what I discovered was that we weren't receiving any interest on those 3 accounts. And I asked for, and eventually their cash management division reached out to me and we had a conversation about what the right thing to do was. And they, after give and take going back and forth, they agreed to provide us with a 3.75% interest rate going forward. The last time I looked at those three accounts, collectively, we had something north of 500,000 in them. So that will be certainly a welcome, a few extra dollars for us going forward. There's no action required by the board. They promised me that they would just simply assign us that interest rate for those three accounts.
Yeah, no, and those are money market rates. They'll go up and down as the Fed decides what they're gonna do with interest
Yeah.
rates.
Well, thank you for looking into that for us on your own and securing that additional income for the township.
Okay, you're welcome. Oh, one more thing, sorry. Could you please sign at least one of those resolutions? Because I'd like to, the resolution on the headquarters ridge. I would like to scoot over tomorrow,
Sure.
okay, and then set up the account.
New business number 2, consideration to include property owned by Richard Rosamilia and Kim Rosamilia Living Trust into the Tinicum Township Agricultural Security Area. So, give me 1 second to get my papers. So this was an application, Rich, that you submitted towards the end of last year. And the previous solicitor for the township submitted the packet to the Bucks County Planning Commission. And the Bucks County Planning Commission issued a memorandum to this Board of Supervisors and the Township Planning Commission, recommending that the parcel be added to the ASA of Tinicum Township. That's the agricultural security area, since it complies with the requirements of Act 43 and is consistent with the township's comprehensive plan and zoning ordinance. The parcel appears to be actively farmed, and 100% of the soils covering the tract are designated by the Natural Resources Conservation Services Land Capability Classification as Class 1 through Class 4. And the BCPC also recommended to the township that we comply with Act 43 of the ASA law, which requires that a municipality's ASA be reviewed and renewed every 7 years. So I just want to put a pin in that for a second, because I wonder, Rich, do you know when the last time the township's ASA was reviewed and renewed?
Well, I'm not into agricultural security, but you're talking about the property.
I'm just
itself?
talking, no, I'm just talking about generally for the township,
I don't
the
think it-
township's
To be
ASA.
honest with you, I don't think it's ever been.
Okay, so we should just look into that, just to make sure
Yeah,
that
that'll
we're
be something to look at, yep.
in compliance. But with regard to the matter before us is the consideration of whether to include your property. I will make a motion to approve your property in the ASA.
I'll second that.
Okay. Are you recusing?
Obviously.
Any public comment? All in favor?
Aye. I expect some fresh corn on the cob.
Well, you get a lot of hay. Listen, you should say with these agricultural security things, that is a necessary step that's needed in order to. That's the necessary step in order to apply for agricultural conservation easement on the property. So
Yes,
I think you want to kind of encourage it as much as you can, as long as we can get the Bucks County to conserve these properties in perpetuity.
that's right. I mean, if your property is eligible for conservation through the Bucks County Agricultural Conservation Program, you get top dollar on your conservation
Well, it's not
easement.
even the dollar amount, because you can waive that, believe it or not, but it's the point of, it's an easier way to not to use the township funds for conserving the land and getting the land conserved. So anyway, do I have to sign this? Oh, this is for the.
Okay, number 3, under New business, consideration of Plumstead Township's request for fire police assistance at the Glory 5K run on Saturday, March 23rd, 2024. I don't know where any. And I'm sorry if I may just have a moment to get my documents together. Do you have the letter from the fire? Can I see that? Plumstead Township has asked Tinicum if we could provide assistance from our fire police units for the Plumsteadville Volunteer Fire Company Blaze of Glory 5K run on Saturday, March 23rd, 2024. So subject to their availability, they have a motion to provide this assistance
I'll make that motion.
in any second.
I'll second.
All right. Public comment? Seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. But just make very quickly, Terry, last year, there were some communication breakdowns between this action and the fire police actually getting information that they needed to have, to make sure people are available to cover. I just remember an incident because I'm with the TCA. I remember an incident with them last year with their open house where nobody got in touch with the fire police to let them know they needed to be there. Just so you know, there's been some trouble. Yeah. And we'll try to avoid that in the future for everybody.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Chief, did you in the past, were you involved in the communication with the fire police?
For outside events?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, new business E4, consideration of a donation to the Delaware Valley Volunteer Fire Company. This is for their, they're opening up their doors to us 2 weeks ago and helping set up the room with, 110 chairs, helping put the room back together the way they needed to. They normally train on Tuesday nights, so it was a big ask. We knew we needed the additional space, and they were very, very happy to accommodate our request. So I would like to suggest that the township make a donation to Del Val. And if I may, I have a number in mind, but if someone would like to make a motion,
What's your number?
my number is $250.
I'm okay. I'm great with that.
Okay. Is that too little?
That's less than I anticipated, more like 5. That's too much. It's too much.
No, it's not. 500's fine as well.
I was just thinking what we usually do when we use it's 5.
But okay,
Well,
that's fine.
It's twice as many people.
That's true.
It was a lot. We were there late. We were there till 11 o'clock.
So I'll make a motion that we donate $500 to Del Val.
I'll second.
Okay, public comment? I'm hearing applause and seeing thumbs up. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Number 5, Land Preservation Committee's announcement of the Highlands Conservation Easement Grant. And as our liaison to the LPC, John Cole is going to tell us about this.
Luke Sorensen could not make it tonight. Some sort of issue with baby. So he asked me to read this comment. Last fall, the LPC coordinated with the Tinicum Conservancy and PA Department of Conservation Natural Resources to apply for a grant through the Highlands Act, a federal act that seeks to safeguard water supplies, conserve forests, and protect wildlife with a specific region that includes Tinicum Township. The township has received notice that the application has been selected, and a grant of approximately $220,000 will be awarded to protect by conservation easement an 80-acre property at the headwater of the Tinicum Creek. So I think that's a great accomplishment.
I think it's terrific. John, could I ask you, whose property is that?
That's the Bowden.
Okay. That makes sense. Okay.
It's up north.
And they accepted that. That was.
As far as I know, they've accepted what's going to be offered. Yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
We also need to have authorization given, authorize the manager to be able to represent the township to the DCNR to see this project through to the completion, and to make sure that he's authorized to do that. Also, the Tinicum Conservancy will be involved in the LPC, of course, but they're part of our township. So we just need to authorize him to be our representative
Is that number 10 on the agenda here?
It's number 5.
No.
I know, I don't know.
There's a consideration for
Is
the
this,
resolution.
this one I wanted to ask about this, because I wrote in here, is this for the grant with question marks
Yeah,
after
so
it?
Is that something different?
So
I think that has to do with the bridge.
The park, this is the park, DCNR grant with the park.
With the park.
Yeah, he said,
Oh, one was
DCNR,
removed.
that's why I said decent.
there's no ad hoc building committee, so it's not.
Okay, so we could probably clean that up also. Because it looked like it was combined with DCNR and then PennDOT reports, which is something completely different. Yeah, so.
Two motions.
Yeah, that's not, okay, so, I'd like to make a motion to authorize a manager to represent the township, when dealing with the DCNR for various projects in the township.
I'll second. Public comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We'll do that one later.
Number 6, consideration of the planning commission's, I just want to stop. That grant that the Land Preservation Committee, in conjunction with their work with the Tinicum Conservancy, is huge for the township. It's a large parcel, 80 plus acres. It is a property where I believe the LPC has been looking for ways to work with the landowner and conserve the property. And it is really just such a fabulous outcome that is the result of creative work, collaboration with the Tinicum Conservancy, and a lot of dedication from our LPC members and Chair Luke Sorensen. Anita, do you have a comment on the grant?
I just wanted to say this is all Luke Sorensen's doing. He found out about this and he pushed it through. So a special kudos to him.
Absolutely. Special kudos to Luke Sorensen. So this is huge. Moving on, number 6, consideration of the Planning Commission's recommendation to amend the zoning ordinance concerning 2 matters. 1, driveway gates, and 2, the definition of warehouses. And it may not quite be the definition, just the location of warehouses, but John is
So my
going to-
understanding from the vice chair of the planning commission, who was in attendance, and I can feel free to correct me, that the only thing with the warehouses is that they have placed them within the planned industrial area, a zoning area, this region, correct?
So we put that in there because we realized in our ordinance, we did not allow for warehousing. We had mini warehouse, but we didn't have anything that addressed warehouses. So we came up with definitions for different uses within a warehouse. And also we assigned it, I think we recommended it be G17 in our ordinance. So, and to the PI district, which is the planned industrial district. We felt it was a hole in our ordinance, so that's why we came up with the definitions and the location.
Okay. So it's more than it. So it is actually the definition and then the
definition, yeah.
location of where warehouses can be placed in the township. Okay.
I did not get the paperwork on the definitions of the warehouse. But it's,
Okay. So then, with regard to, so that's warehouse. Can you speak to the driveway
yeah, the
gates?
driveway pillars came up, we have a situation in the township, several places where driveway pillars tend to exceed the height of the fence that is being planned on the property. And as design aspects of it all made it such that the planning commission thought it'd be better to revise that to better conform with what people actually design for gates and so forth in their townships. So he's here tonight. I can read his first if you like.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, so this is what the planning commission is proposing for an ordinance change. That gates across driveways shall have a minimum clear opening of 12 feet. A minimum of 35 feet of straight driveway shall be provided between the edge of the cartway and the gate. There shall be no sharp turns or obstructions that would prohibit the free access of firefighting or other emergency equipment, vehicles between the gate and structures on the property. Driveway gates, columns, pillars, or any other type of gate shall not have a finished type of more than 7 feet, 0 inches as measured from the center of the driveway at the natural grade on the horizontal plane. Columns and pillars, whether or not they support a gate, shall not be greater than 36 inches in width or depth at any point. gates across a driveway or lanes that are solely used for access to fields for farm equipment are generally exempt or specifically exempt from this regulation. And I believe now the pillar height is restricted to 4 feet. So if you could
Yeah,
address the change.
So
here,
that was,
great.
that was one of the issues. We've had different zoning officers in our township, and each zoning officer applied the past ordinance differently because it didn't specify on a height of a gate. Specified on the height of a fence, but not on a driveway gate. So we would have one zoning officer not pay attention to it. Our present zoning officer is applying the fence ordinance to the gate. So it's not consistent. So we looked at it and we felt we had to put something in there that in the future, any zoning officer could read it the same. So that's why we corrected it. And we felt that if someone wanted a gate that was 6 or 7 feet high on a driveway that was set back, that they should be allowed to do that. And that's why we put this forth to the Board of Supervisors.
So, not being real familiar with the next process, and this would go to the attorney then for review.
I think that's what we're asking is to pass to Scott the documents prepared by the planning commission with regard to warehouse and the driveway gates. And then Scott can put them into an ordinance amendment format for us to review and then decide at another meeting if we want to
Advertise.
advertise.
Does it go to the Bucks County Planning Commission?
I think once it's in an
So
ordinance
The
format.
process we're describing here, I would prepare a draft ordinance for your review. And if you were then to vote to advertise it, that's when it would go to the Bucks County Planning Commission, yes.
Okay, so I don't know if we need an action.
Do we need a motion to have you do that, Scott?
You can just group consent.
Okay.
I'll pass this on then to the manager for him to communicate.
Sure. And is there any public comment on warehouse or driveway gates? Okay, hearing none.
Now, does everybody have the warehouse language yet? The definitions and use?
I've seen it in an email and I believe it was sent,
Okay.
it was copied to Terry.
I don't have it, so.
Okay.
we can
I
do
don't
it.
have it here either, but
Okay, I don't have it with me, but as long as it's somebody's got it,
yes.
okay, we'll do that.
Okay. And then, number 8.
Number 7,
We did 7 was the
the
T.
report on the building renovation
Oh,
committee?
so this was dropped off on the agenda.
Okay.
So next up is consideration of the Ronia Associates waiver request. And Mr. Siggety?
Yes.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you
I'm
too.
Bob Siggety.
Yes, and I forgot that you were here and I'm sorry. I would have invited you up earlier. Out of
Well,
order. but
it's
I was
interesting
thinking
seeing
over-
government operate. So thank you.
Welcome. Yes.
I'm a landowner in Tinicum Township. However, I live in Bedminster in Pipersville. Used to live in Tinicum and my office is in Tinicum on Rance Mill Road. I have made a request for 3 waivers of your sewer ordinance related to the property at 45 Groover Road. I submitted this back in November, and I believe the engineer has commented, Kurt, it was done by your predecessor.
Yes, Steve prepared this memo dated November 22nd, 2023.
And I don't know if you want me to give background or, I mean, I've submitted quite a bit of information for your review for this consideration.
What
would you like of me?
what I haven't seen, Mr. Ziggety, is the this soil testing that shows that that the non-traditional system is all that could be done there. I haven't
We've
seen
provided an alternative analysis.
that.
That's been provided. We have a permit from the Bucks County Department of Health for the septic system. It is a sand mound. Our designer is proposing a cocoa filter
Mhm.
which enables it to be an at-grade bed, just a lower profile sand mound. The three issues that we're asking for relief on are, one, that the system be on a separate lot. It is it's one parcel. We don't intend to divide the two units. I believe, forgive me for a moment. The requirement that the system be on a second lot is due to it being a community system. This is a two-family farmhouse. It's a non-conforming use. It's been in existence for at least 50 to 100 years. This is a replacement system of an existing system. And it's approximately in the same location or very similar location to where the existing septic system is. And we're asking for us not to create a lot. We really can't. It's internal to the property. It wouldn't be able to meet the requirements of a lot. It's also my idea or belief that your ordinance has this requirement is because a community system typically is for multiple dwellings that might end up being in different ownership entities. This is going to remain in the same ownership entity. It's a two-family farmhouse. It's also a 2-bedroom unit and a 3-bedroom unit, so they're small. The other request I have is that the construction escrow and the performance bond that your ordinance requires be reduced from 5,000 construction escrow and 5,000 performance bond to $1,000 total. Again, it's only 2 units. It's single ownership. It's a replacement of an existing system. There will be a maintenance contract on it. The health department requires that. And by the way, the health department will also oversee the construction. I'm not really sure what the township wants to do as far as the construction of the septic system. I'm not aware of what you're going to do. That's heavily enforced and monitored by the health department during the installation of the system. And the last waiver request is that the replacement system, which we've identified, not be recorded as an easement until we figure out the ultimate use of this property. You know, this is a subject of some subdivision that we have before the township right now. And we want to make sure that the location of the replacement system is suitable for what this ultimate lot will look like when it's subdivided. And we don't want to record an easement and then have to modify an easement down the road. So we could do that at a later date.
And are there people living in this property now?
It's being renovated.
Okay.
It's vacant right now.
Mhm.
We have a building permit and it's being overseen by Jim Kopchak. It's almost done. The renovation work is almost done.
So this system would just be to serve that house.
Correct.
And the two.
And the 2-bedroom.
2 units.
It's
Well, I mean,
it's a 3-bedroom unit
yeah.
and a 2-bedroom unit.
Yeah, 2-bedroom.
That it's
It's
in
that-
that one house.
Right.
Correct.
I've been watching that. I've been watching.
Yeah,
I'm familiar with the problem.
and the plans, the township has the plans too. You know, Jim Kopchak has been overseeing the construction from its inception.
So Scott, can you tell me, so we've received this application at some point in 2023?
November.
And so is there a clock that's ticking?
Not that I'm aware of.
You have a
Okay.
clock, but it's a deemed denial in your ordinance. So you
Oh,
don't have a
yeah.
deemed approval.
I would say, not that I'm aware of that. I was going with that. Thank you. It was not that I'm aware of that.
We've
would be a
investigated
problem
that.
for us. It would be a problem for him where it's deemed denial, then he would be allowed to. It's not like zoning
Mhm.
or land development because it's a health safety welfare issue. It would be a deemed denial and they would have to then appeal and prove their case.
Yeah.
Um,
So for the first waiver that you're requesting, the recommendation from Steve Balla, the previous township engineer, was to recommend to grant the waiver subject to an execution of a standard O&M agreement for the sewage system. For the second one, Mr. Balla was taking no position as the establishment of fees is a policy matter for the Board of Supervisors. And for the final one, his recommendation was that we not waive and that we require a protective easement. I, for me, this is an alternative system. On a 97.9 acre parcel. And, I'm interested in seeing the alternative analysis. I don't remember seeing
It's
that
with your
before.
package. I can give you a copy of it if you need it.
Well, Kurt, do you have a copy of it?
I don't have a copy with me. I have not reviewed that because Steve has. I could review it, if the board would like. One thing I wanted to point out too in Steve's letter is that, item 1 of the November 22nd letter is that this whole property was subject to a potential settlement agreement. And the replacement and the reserve system that's being proposed is within lot 20 that hasn't necessarily been created yet.
That's correct.
And I think that was one of Steve's recommendations on why it's important to have that easement to define these areas, especially if there is going to be a subdivision going on.
We don't want to not record an easement. We want to defer it until after we figure out how it's,
To do it
what the
once.
shape of that lot's going to be.
Mhm.
Right now, it's a line on a plan that we're having dialogue about.
So why are we doing this now? Why aren't we
Because
waiting?
I would like to build the system
Mhm.
and I need the septic permit.
Okay,
I'm ready to build the system.
okay.
The house is almost done. It's ready for occupancy and I can't do it without your permit.
What do you think?
I'm fine. Some language that says, once the development is figured out or whatever we're doing on this, recorded easement,
Mhm.
that it's put off until then, but it has to be done, I don't know the language.
How does the alternative analysis show that there's nowhere on 97 acres to put a system that's higher up in the hierarchy of our township's sewage?
Well, it is a sand mound.
Mhm.
What we're doing is we're putting a cocoa filter on a sand mound, so it's a low profile. It's an at-grade bed.
Well, it's a community drip irrigation system, I think is what the
Yeah.
paperwork was.
Yeah. But it's an at-grade bed.
Is a
Well, it's a totally
community,
different system.
is a community drip irrigation system the same as a sand mound?
No.
No.
Well, I have the plan here. Oh, let me show you the alternative analysis. If you have a moment. Right here. This is my only copy though. I guess I probably have another one. It just takes a minute to look at it.
And Rob, you'll have to excuse me for a minute here because I'm just recently getting up to
I
speed on your
understand.
project.
Don't
But
worry.
My understanding is that you did the testing for these lots only based on doing all micro mounds for the lots in the subdivision, correct? And the
No,
test was-
only in some, not all. There are quite a few elevated sand mounds in there too. But you also have to have the proximity to the house. Miss Breslin. We don't, yours is 97 acres, but you don't want to put it 1,000 feet from the house.
Maybe. I mean, it depends. I mean,
Well,
it depends.
I mean, this is in a reasonable location for the house. I have the plan here to show you where it is too.
Oh,
Right here.
Mr. Siggety, my sense is that, I know that it's been sitting with the township since November, but it's feeling a little bit premature for me tonight to be deciding this. So I'd like our township engineer to have a look at the application. I know that Mr. Ballard did it before. I'd like Mr. Jenner to do it now.
Okay.
And then once that review is done, I'd like for our planning commission to have a look at it too.
All right.
I
Understood.
think that's the best way to go.
Oh,
Here's your copy, sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For your time.
So do we have to vote, we can just
You
direct
could vote to send it to the planning commission for review.
after
Our
Kurt does
engineer.
his review.
Yep.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to have Mr. Jenner review the sewage permit waiver applications from Mr. Ziggity. And following his review and with that memo for it to go to the planning commission for review.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. And under number 9, do we need to, Terry, do anything with regard to PennDOT reports designating
Yes.
you? Okay, what is it that you are needing?
I have somewhere in front of you a resolution. Specific, no, it's an actual resolution. That's it.
Okay.
And it identifies both Melissa and I as representing the township and with respect to filing reports, PennDOT related reports going forward.
Okay, so this is a municipal resolution
Well,
number
I'll
to be
num-
determined
yeah,
of
yes,
2024.
Yes.
To designate our interim manager, Terry Fedorchik, and our administrative assistant, welcome, Melissa, Baudelier, to complete reports relating to liquid fuels. May I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Second?
I'll second.
All right. Any public comment? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Regular business under minutes. So minutes from the December 5th, 19th, January 2nd, and February 6th and February 20th Board of Supervisor meetings are not yet available for approval, but we are making progress on this. So it won't be long before they're all up. However, in the interim, the full audio and video recordings of all of these meetings are available on YouTube through the links on the township's website.
Can I ask you a question on this?
Yes,
Were all of these meetings all had recordings, is that correct?
yes.
Why can't they just be taken, or the minutes come out of those recordings verbatim if you have to, but why can't that be done? So we could have, we don't have to wait this 2 months on these right here.
Yeah, I mean, we just haven't had
Oh,
people in the building who can do that.
Yeah,
You know,
if I may,
Sure.
and to
Sure.
help
Yeah.
Rich, we currently have 3 different people working on this and to try to catch up. I'm cautiously optimistic. We're gonna, by our next meeting, we'll be pretty much caught up, perhaps with the exception of your headquarters road bridge meeting.
Mhm.
So that's my goal. And I hope we can accomplish that. So what I'm saying is I hope we'll have all the meetings with the exception of that one. And perhaps this one, I'm not certain. I'll try to get this one done too. But that's my goal right now.
so that's the April meeting, is that correct? Is that what you're saying? The first meeting in April.
Correct. Yes.
Good.
Okay, number 2, under regular business, treasurer's report for December of 2023 and January of 2024. Have you both had an opportunity to review the treasurer's report from both of these months?
Which one is the treasurer's report?
It's under F2 in the packet.
This report right here, is that correct?
There's one for December of 23 and one for January of 24. Yeah. Mhm.
3, 10. 24.
Do you have any questions about the treasurer's reports from these months?
No, I don't have a question with regard to the treasurer's report because that's what comes out of a CAN program. I get it, and the numbers are put in there. But Terry, you recall that I had asked if we can do something that's a little bit more informative, not only to the board, but to the residents. By taking the 24 budget, put it in a spreadsheet, and then there's all these line items, and you can put all the numbers on it for that particular month. So it shows you that month, but more importantly, you can compare it to the year prior so that anyone looking at it can see how we're doing on any given point of time in a year. You see how you were doing compared to not only the budget, but how you were doing compared to the previous year, to the previous month.
Yes, absolutely. And
Turn your mic on, Terry.
yes, that is a tool, a financial tool that I'm quite accustomed to providing Board of Supervisors wherever I've been. And it would be my intention to do exactly that in the very, very near future. The only reason we don't have it right now, to be perfectly honest, we're a little bit backed up. Our bookkeeper is doing a fine job of trying to play catch up. And I'm cautiously optimistic, again, cautiously optimistic that we are making some significant progress right now, this moment, and over the next week, literally this moment, and next week, we'll be dealing with the auditors. So they'll be our number one priority. They'll be coming in starting Thursday and certain days the following week. But once we can get past that, them and taking care of their needs and trial balances and whatnot, we'll be able to turn our attention to what Rich is describing, which will be relatively easy for us to put together. So I can promise you in the very near future, certainly within the next few months, that yes, we'll have reporting similar to what you're describing.
So am I to understand that June's her name, right?
Correct.
She's going to be capable to do this, because when I had asked her about it, she wasn't sure that she was able to do that. But you're comfortable with that?
At this point, it's my belief that June can provide that for us.
She can.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's when I will help her work with that.
Okay. So you don't need a treasurer for that.
Not treasurer per se, but I am actually, I've been talking to a number of financial folks in my industry to see if they might be willing to come to Tinicum Township to take a look at our financial system, perhaps help June, and Rich, you and I had this conversation. Perhaps help June a bit, just give us a little extra on that side. For all of us, I'm sure our finances tend to be number one, and certainly for your interim township manager, it is. And as you know, I don't have to go back over history, but we had two very, very capable people working here in the past who left at the same time. And when they left, there was no training. So we have a lot of new faces coming in who are having to learn a new system pretty much on their own, plus to understand us and what we're all about, how we do things, our different funds and accounts. So it's been challenging. It's been a lot of work, but we're starting to get there. I think what would be very, very helpful for the board, as well as our bookkeeper, is we can find the right person to perhaps serve as a coach for the bookkeeper and to take a look at how we're doing things. Now, I've been knocking on doors. I was sitting here going through some of my emails. I got a positive response from someone. I'll keep knocking on doors. Most folks who have that strong financial background in my industry, they're very much in demand, very, very much in demand. So, again, it's something I think that is important. As I get more information, I will report back to you to see what you think. And that's where I'm at right now with this.
You realize that once it's set up, and it shouldn't take that long, but once it's set up, it should be easy at that point, because then it's just filling in blanks, right?
Yeah,
It's not
no,
like you have to have somebody on staff to do it, because the bookkeeper could then add it right into the different line items.
Yeah,
So it's
actually,
just setting up these line items so they're comfortable with it.
yeah, and it gets a little tricky, Rich. There's it's how the line items are set up and transferring the data from point A to point B. As long as you understand the basics, we need to get the basics understood a little bit better from an accounting perspective.
Mhm.
Allow me to stop there, and let's see as we move along and what I come up with, if it makes any sense to the board. Okay?
You good?
Yeah, I mean, I have no choice. I'd like to see somebody here pretty soon to get this in, because if it's a couple of months, as you point out, we can be in June, July. I mean,
Well,
half the year is.
no,
gone.
I'm trying to get somebody here much sooner.
Okay,
than
good.
A couple of
Thank
months.
you.
No, you misunderstood me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I think the idea is that the person will work with June and kind of set up these reports that she is running and just be available to her as a resource
Mhm.
so that she can deliver to the board what you want, what we want.
Well, it's for the public. I'm telling
and-
you, it's very informative. To be
Yes,
honest with you.
and that is,
That's the goal. I got it.
so do we approve the treasurer's report?
Yep.
May I have a motion to approve the December 23 and January 24 treasurer's reports?
So moved.
Second,
A second.
all right, public comment. Yes, Ms. Swope. Hold on, just wait until you're onto the mic.
Sorry, Denise Swope, resident. I'm perplexed by what Terry was just talking about. So do we currently have a bookkeeper that isn't familiar with how the chart of accounts is set up, or how the finances are set up, or not using a system they're familiar with? Are you using like a QuickBooks system or something? Because those reports come right out.
No, we're not. And it's a specialized accounting program. So it's not QuickBooks. That's an excellent point. So somebody's coming in to have to learn how this particular accounting program works. Yeah, it's not something that takes months and months, but it's just something that has to be done.
So I guess the obvious question is, we hired somebody that had no familiarity with how to do this or use the system, because I think, as Rich was just
Well-
saying, it seems like we're not going to get there for another couple months. So we're 6 months, half a year in, and we don't seem to have a handle on our finances or how they're reported.
Well, I think we have a handle on our finances in the larger sense. As I said a few moments ago, two key people left and trained nobody. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. So at that point in time, you're bringing people in to run a system they've never run before without any training. So
I guess it's just concerning to me.
well, it's concerning to me.
That-
I'm sorry, ma'am, it's concerning to me, right? I just want you to know that,
Okay.
okay?
So it just sounds like if we bring another person in, is this more cost to the township?
Okay,
Because it seems like we brought a lot of people in and there's a lot of cost and not a lot coming out. So I'm just asking.
well, if that's the way you look at it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there going to be a cost? An additional cost to bring another person in?
So we're not hiring an additional
Mhm. It's
person,
like a
but in
consultant.
terms of consulting fees, of course. So payroll reports. The payroll for January of 24 was in the amount of $110,528.40. February 24 payroll was in the amount of $85,218.63. December of 23 payroll was in the amount of $82,936.86.
Got questions again.
Sure.
All right, so January 24 payroll in the amount of 110,528, and that's goes back to, and I'm not going to harp on it anymore, about when you have this analysis in front of you, you can see what's gone on in the past, and then you can ask a question, a reasonable question, of why something is the way it is. So I went back and I had to spend some time looking at some old minutes from the previous year, and I came up with, again, Terry Lewis did it on a 2-week basis, the payroll report. So when she did her payroll report, it could have been the last 2 weeks in December and the first 2 weeks in January in 23, as opposed to what we did in 24. And then you can take that information for the next 2 weeks in January, add it to the first 2 weeks in January, and you come up with 4 weeks of a dollar amount. And that dollar amount is considerably lower than the 110 that we see on the January 24, considering that the January 24 is 4.3 weeks, not just 4 weeks, right? And then also consider that you had a 3% increase in wages, right, from the previous year. You still don't come up with 110, you'd come up with maybe 82,000.
Yeah.
So my question is, why is it 110,000? And I don't have enough data to know why. So I'm asking, Terry.
Okay. When I looked over our payroll, I looked over January and February, and I'm seeing the employees that are hired. We don't have any ghost employees
I'm not
anywhere.
suggesting that.
Well, I'm not saying that you are.
Is there a lot of overtime that maybe accounts for the 110?
Well, I
That's
just
what I'm asking.
wanted to start with that.
Yeah.
That's all. I mean, I looked at it from that standpoint. Are we paying the right people? So my first answer, and I had to do that because I'm not familiar with everybody. The answer is we're paying the right people, and we're not paying anybody extra. I believe we had 3 payrolls in January, mostly that would account. I'm pretty sure 3 payrolls came out of January. I'd have to check with the bookkeeper on
It
that.
doesn't matter. The analysis I took a look at had 4.3 weeks January. If you had 3 payrolls in January, it still doesn't matter unless you're telling me that January 24 had December 23 in it also.
That
Is that a possibility?
That could be, but I don't want to say that's what happened. I'd have to go back.
Then that might explain it.
Okay, that I'd have to go back, Rich, and
Okay.
to be more
The-
precise,
yeah.
if you want me to, I could, but
The other thing is that our Public Works Department, they work 17 days in a row in January, dealing with snow and wind and rain events. And that's a lot of overtime for a
That's why I'm
format.
asking our manager.
Yeah.
Was that a disproportionate amount than we normally have over past couple of years?
I
That's my question.
can't honestly answer over the past couple of years directly, but in knowing what our weather was like
Mhm.
over the last couple of years, we had very, very, very favorable winter. So my assumption would be that our public works worked a lot more overtime in the month of January based on your previous 2 years, certainly.
So it would be a help to me because that's an area that I always look at. If I can get a breakdown of those costs, that would be helpful to me. Could I get them from June?
Yeah, in terms of a breakdown, in
Well, you're
terms like
saying it's the Public
overtime,
Works.
I could give you public work, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I could
Okay.
see what their hourly rate is, which I know what their hourly rate is, and how much overtime they had for that period of time. And that might be able to justify the 110 that I'm looking at as compared to what I believe would be reasonably about 82,000.
Okay,
Okay.
Fair
So
enough.
that's number one. Number two, if you look at February 24 and December, see, you had December 23 in here. So that's my confusion. Because you're saying that it might have included some parts of December 23,
Mhm.
but yet when I say she, June, has December 23rd, I assume that's the full month of December, right?
Yes.
So then January of 24 only has January in it, not December.
Yeah, well, December, those two pay periods in December could overlap it a little bit in November. I'd have to go back and actually see
Okay.
the pay. You
So
know,
I don't want to waste
there's-
any more time.
Yeah,
here
there's just not, I just don't have that information.
Okay.
I think though it kind of would even itself out because you're dealing with 2 pay periods, 3 pay periods, and 2 pay periods.
Yeah,
So
I know, but I
despite
took that
without-
into account.
Okay,
Give me the benefit of knowing that I can figure out what a pay period, and if it's a month, because this is reported as a month, that means that there would be, if you're doing 2 weeks, you'd have two-week pay periods plus a third of a pay period.
So you
I-
want the pay periods
I
per
just want to go
month,
and look at them. So
like
if I can see June she comes in on Thursday?
Tuesdays and Thursdays.
oh, no, don't come in on Thursday.
Oh, the auditors.
What
I
days
mean,
are
there.
they? Oh,
No,
because
the auditors are
here, okay.
coming.
So when will
Come at the
June-
try the
will-
following Tuesday.
Following Tuesday,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Okay.
So if I can come in then and she can just show me these numbers and how she arrived at them, that's what
Okay.
I'm looking for.
Okay.
Thank you.
May I have a motion to approve? We have this motion, right? It's on the table. All in favor?
No, you didn't do a motion.
I didn't do a
did-
motion
you
for
did the
to
treasurer.
adopt the payroll?
You only did the treasurer's report.
Okay. May I make a motion to approve the payroll for January of 24 in the amount of 110,528.40, February 24 in the amount of 85,218.63, and December of 23 in the amount of 82,936.86.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor? Aye. Disbursements, we have January 24 and February 24, as well as December disbursements. Have we all had an opportunity to look at these lists? Okay. Any questions?
No, it's just my original thing. When I meet with June on next Tuesday, maybe she can, I had made a suggestion about when you do a disbursement like that, if we're not going to be using until we use that spreadsheet that I'm talking about, when you compare line items and stuff, maybe she can explain what are those costs for? Rather than just putting in a dollar amount, you can just briefly say it's escrow for XYZ property, it's Headquarters Road Bridge, it's whatever it happens to be.
I think that's in here though, Rich.
Yeah, some of that is actually not everything that you mentioned.
Well,
is,
it's the
but
parts
some
that
of
don't
it
have it,
is.
yeah.
Yeah.
I get the suburban propane.
Yeah, I
that's
don't
pretty
believe you've
obvious.
ever had that before, the Rich. I've looked at over some of the disbursements in the past over
Mhm.
last year. I don't think you've had anywhere close to this kind of detailed information. Am I wrong?
Well, I got the detailed information because at a public meeting, I was able to get that information by asking, what was that amount for? And
Mhm.
generally, Terry Lewis would say, oh, this was for this was for that, and I would write it in there. But
Okay.
that's where I would get it, but you don't know it, right? Because June is really putting these things together.
That's correct.
So I'd have to ask June, and June's not here. So
Okay.
that's
fair
my
enough.
point.
Yes.
On Tuesday.
Okay.
I'll talk.
But this is more information than what I've seen you have in the past.
I disagree, but
Okay.
that's fine.
Okay, fair enough.
I mean, they almost all have, health equity, Mary Maids.
This is financials. This has got to do with your money, your taxpayer money. If you don't think it's worth it, then you can say that.
Say it wasn't worth it.
Rich. So this does specify what they're for. Mary Maids,
Some
Earthlink,
professional
Netted.
services that are just, they go on and on and on with not any detail.
Harrison Harris.
That's right. Where's the detail? What was that?
Well,
for?
we received his invoices. We all get a
Yeah, but
copy of it.
no, I haven't gotten a copy of anybody's
It-
invoices.
It's attached to the checks. that are available for all of us to come in and
Yeah, I
sign.
know, but I haven't come in to look at the invoices because
Okay.
generally it's given to us either verbally at a public meeting, right? And I had asked for in the past, I'm not saying Terry is totally out. I've asked in the past, even with Terry Lewis, that put a note right alongside the amount so we don't have to ask these questions in a public meeting. The public can ask a question, but at least it's written there.
Yeah. I'm just looking at the disbursements for January of 24, and it seems to only be the Harris and Harris one that doesn't have the
Well, then
detail
let's
that
go
you're
to the other
describing.
ones. You have other disbursements. So,
So are you think like under,
Grimm and Bam, I don't know, February 24, I don't know. That's
so for instance, the Grimpine and Thatcher
Mhm.
on page 2 of the February disbursements, you would want to see which
I don't have to see
property
it.
matter
Yeah.
it's related, each fee is relating to?
Yeah, she can just put down the property. It could be right on that space right there. That's helpful.
Okay. So the detail that is on the invoice from Grimpine and Thatcher, you want to see on the disbursements?
I think that's a better way to look at it, yeah.
Okay. All right. Do we have any questions about the disbursements beyond the level of detail in the reports themselves? Okay. Anita.
Anita Nolan, I have questions about this whole section of regular business. The minutes from the past, from last year and prior, have all disappeared from the website. It would be helpful if they were on the website. And they were on the website and now they're not.
No, I think they are. I think they are. They're back on the website.
I couldn't find them.
They're on the
Oh,
website.
okay, thank
yeah.
you. The other thing is,
Wait, what went on yesterday?
Minutes.
The
What-
link
what
that was
minutes on the page?
disconnected at the end of last
Oh,
year.
oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Jane
on the
fixed
website.
it.
Yes, I know that, but I didn't know what years you were talking about. Thank you. I'm sorry I apologize for interrupting.
the other thing is about the disbursements. Those were always in the agenda before that we received, but now they're not anymore. Like, here's my agenda. See, there's nothing on here. There's no disbursements. There aren't, and there always were before.
Mhm.
Would this sheet be
So it's
available?
the memo
before the
line from
meeting?
the, from the chat.
That's what you have to
That's
do.
what
I
it-
don't know.
We
Use
can,
that.
we can attach it, we can attach it to the, we can attach it. Just to comment, I'm not certain why the disbursements were written, typed, whatever, into the actual agenda itself. It seems like a unnecessary amount of work. What we've done, as the board well knows, is to provide you with reports that come out of the system, and they're several pages long. Those reports are very, very easily produced. June had no problem whatsoever producing those reports for me, for the board, no matter what time frame we were talking about. And that's typically, I'm just gonna make a gratuitous comment. That's typically what I've seen over the years. A software program that produces monthly disbursement reports. And you'll notice we have disbursements, detailed disbursements for each of our accounts. For some reason, in the past, they were typed into agenda. Okay. John just asked if we could make these reports, these, what I believe to be quite frankly, far more detailed than what I've seen in these previous years. These far more detailed reports available to the public, certainly if that's what the board wants.
Well, I would just think if a couple copies were left here at the table when they come in, if somebody wants to pick them up, they can
Yeah.
pick them up. I mean, I'm looking at the report here, and this is the cash disbursements journal, which we
Mhm.
just went over. It's detailed as much as I thought it always was in the past, and Rich did ask questions in the past about what something was for.
Mhm.
But as far as what I ever got to public, this is as much as I got information wise, and it did come in the agenda, but I agree, if it's something that's tough to type in, and you can just print this couple of these copies out for people to pick up and at the beginning of the meeting, would that be a problem for anybody?
No,
else?
oh,
Yeah, it would be for me. I like the memos. I already made that statement. I don't have to read it. The memo is a lot easier for the public and ourselves to understand it.
So what Rich has given is the January 9th, 2023
Agenda.
agenda. And it includes apparently, I mean, I'm saying apparently, maybe it is, maybe it isn't, information from a memo line from the check that is put into this, embedded in the agenda. I'm wondering, Terry, in other municipalities, how has the township communicated to the public the, the disbursements, the money in, money out?
precisely as what's been presented to you over the last couple of months in
And
that format.
is that attached to an agenda as you've seen in other municipalities? Is it posted on the website? Is it posted on the bulletin board?
In some, well, I've been in communities where the entire agenda and all the informational material is posted on the website prior to a meeting. I've seen the entire, and I've seen it where and I've been involved where it's just been the agenda itself and nothing more. So you have the alpha and the zeta impossibilities.
Mhm.
So it's just up to the board what they're deciding.
So I think it is important for all of us that the public have an idea of the specifics more than just the totals that are showing on the agenda. So we just need to figure out, I mean, I'm in favor of a solution that is not like an additional administrative burden on the staff. If we have this accounting software, we should be able to run a report that reflects and captures the information that we want. It makes no sense to me that we would be paying someone, a couple hours every 2 weeks to embed this list when a computer can just generate it. So I think we need to find a solution that generates the information that Rich is looking for, and John, and that we believe will provide complete information to the public.
I'm confident we keep communicating back and forth, Rich, what he wants. We get to see what our system can do. Tweak, add a little bit more information. I'm certain we can get to a place where everybody will be happy.
Realize, Terry, when you do this, or whenever you're talking to somebody, that a lot of these items that are here are repetitious. Every month are the same ones. There's a few extras that are put in here, but it's not like somebody has to retype everything. It's a spreadsheet. You have some of the basic expenses already listed. You may have to add a few extras, but they're there. You know what I mean? So
I appreciate that.
Sure.
Al Gillen, resident Cafferty Road. Just a comment. I mean, if it's coming out in some form that you have, there's no reason why you can't either screenshot it or scan it and just drop it into the Word document that eventually becomes the PDF that we download. So it shouldn't be a huge effort to get that information into these agendas. Just
Thank you. Okay. So having reviewed the disbursements for January and February of 24 and December of 23, May I have a motion to approve these disbursements?
I'll make that motion.
Second. Any public comment? All in favor? Aye. Okay. G, conditional use and zoning. Zoning Hearing Board application ZHB 2023-9 Paul Weand. This is for 196 Red Hill Road in Ottsville, TMP 44-014-021-001. It's zoned residential agriculture. It's 17.1 acres. The applicant appeals the decision of the zoning officer and in the alternative requests a use variance to allow rental of a cottage and rental of an undisclosed number of barn units. The application was received 9/29/23. The PC reviewed it on 10/24/23. The extension request letter was received on 10/25/23. The Board of Supervisors decided to send the solicitor and zoning officer to the zoning hearing. That decision was made on 11/21/23. The zoning hearing board hearing was originally scheduled for January 11th of 24, and it was continued at the applicant's request to 2/29/24. It was continued from this past week. It didn't happen due to the township zoning officer's unavailability due to a personal matter that came up unexpectedly. It has been rescheduled. At the time that this agenda was ready, I don't believe we had a date, but we have a date now.
Yeah, we did not. The date now is March. Let me make sure I wrote that down real quick. Correctly. March 27th, yes.
So the zoning hearing board on the Weand matter is scheduled for March 27th, 2024 at 7 p.m. There will be no further continuance request by the applicant and granted by the ZHB. Number 2, zoning hearing board application ZHB 2023-5 Mark Callaway. I'll just fast forward. This application was withdrawn on February 7th, 24. So that is here just for sake of completion. And under number 3, zoning hearing board application ZHB 2023-12 Jonathan Weiss and Abigail Wolf. 112 River Road in Point Pleasant, TMP 44-033-001. It's zoned village center, 1.022 acres. The applicant requests relief to construct a private swimming pool and related improvements within the front yard and side yard setbacks and exceeds impervious coverage. The application was received 11/6/23. The PC reviewed it on 12/12/23. An extension request letter was received on 11/6/23. The board decided to send the solicitor to the zoning hearing. That decision was made on 12/19/23, and the zoning hearing board hearing was originally scheduled for 2/22/24 and was continued to 3/28/24. The final matter we've already heard.
Can I add one thing last for the
Yes.
Weiss and Wolf? I spoke with their attorney. My understanding their continuance request was because they are trying to rewrite the plan so that no zoning relief would be needed. So they're actually trying to revise the plans and bring it into conformance was the plan there.
Oh,
Speaking
that's
with
great.
Their attorney.
Thank you for that, Scott.
Yes.
So now we're at the second public comment. Come on up.
Hi, Tim Cashman, resident. I just had 2 questions, and if I can get those answered, that'd be helpful. One was for you, Scott, because you might know this. The Wood Tiger Fund, is that a 501c3 or a 501c? C3, okay. And then if the board could help me out with the completion date of the Headquarters Road Bridge. What was discussed? Any idea of a set date when that would be completed with estimates from engineers and drawings? And is there anything that was?
The actual work done?
Yeah, I mean, we know PennDOT had a date in mind. I was wondering if there was a date in mind for the Wood Tiger.
Yeah, I think Kurt gave us
Do we have a couple
an
times?
optimistic date of December of 25.
Yeah, it basically was January 26th. I think PennDOT's was July of 26 at the last meeting.
Okay, so December of,
It was January 26th, compared to, July of 26.
okay, all right, just need to know those dates. Thank you.
Thanks. Anyone else? Okay. Motion to adjourn, I'm
One-
making it.
one
Oh,
thing real quick.
sorry.
Just so people know, I've been out with, I'm going to meetings with the Palisades, Regional Fire Company. I had a nice meeting last month where we discussed some of the issues that they have. There's a nice reading thing you can get from the Bucks County Planning Commission, The Future of Bucks County Fire Services. I encourage people to read it and understand what some of the plight of the local fire departments are. They have two major issues, one funding, and the other is even more important and more difficult for them now is personnel. They have trouble getting volunteers to sign up for the fire service now, particularly younger volunteers. Most of their people, hundreds of them are over 40 years old now. A lot of them are over 50, some of them over 60. I can tell you somebody over 60, when you start stumbling around fires, you can get hurt pretty easily. So they're looking for younger volunteers. If you get anybody that can sign up for them. I have an idea why they're having their problems with volunteers, because I've been in a lot of volunteer organizations and we all have this issue now. Everybody seems to be getting older as volunteers. So I will be going again Thursday, and if the board members or anybody here has something, suggestions, whatever they can give me to take to them, concerns you have, let me know through an email, and I will take them to them. Yes.
The TCA has a donation check for you to take to them.
I'm gonna take
You
it to
really-
them tomorrow.
Yes, would be
That's
great.
good.
That's great.
Thank you.
So I have something that I think it would be helpful to bring to this advisory board. So this advisory board is comprised of representatives from the various municipalities where Palisades Regional Fire and Rescue provide their primary service. And John is Tinicum's representative to this advisory board. Under the law, a municipality is able to provide incentives for volunteer firemen in one or two or both. It's not, you don't have to pick one or the other. You could actually choose both. So in two different ways. The first is to provide a reduction in your EIT. And the second is to provide a reduction in your real estate tax, your municipal real estate tax. So for the, the older volunteers who might be retired, they might be the ones owning property. The reduction in real estate tax would be appealing. And then for the younger volunteers, they may not yet be in a position to own property, but they would probably appreciate a reduction in the EIT. So, that's something that we could provide to Tinicum residents. The challenge is that there are volunteer firemen in Del Val who don't live in Tinicum, but they serve our community. But they live adjacent to our community in Bedminster and in Springfield and, these other municipalities that are part of this advisory group. I'm wondering if this could be brought to the group as a question, do we want to kind of regionally create this incentive where we kind of maybe we're all doing the same thing or a similar thing. Another option that other municipalities do, they don't necessarily do the reduction in the IT or the real estate tax, but they just pay out an incentive per volunteer per year, just like a cash incentive. So, I think there are options. The value of the service of our volunteers, really, no matter what the reduction is, it wouldn't kind of adequately compensate them for all that they give in terms of their time, their weekly training, and then, the professionalism and skill that they bring when they respond. But I would be interested in exploring that. And I know that there's also, every fire company has this, they have different requirements in terms of hours and number of calls that you show up to be considered an active volunteer. So that, you know, I'm making this request knowing full well that there are a lot of details that would need to be worked out. But I think that with the advisory board, it would be a good place to start that conversation on a regional basis.
And these advisory board it's comprised of supervisors from other boards and that are served by this township or by this fire company. So you're talking about Springfield, Nakamix, and Tinicum, and Durham Township. Those are the 4 supervisors that were there, and Regalsville also, Borough. So those are the supervisors that are there. So a regional concept like this is something that you can discuss with members of their government in place. So that's why it's useful to have something like this with them, where we all get together and can talk as a region. So that's.
So will you bring it up?
I will bring it up Thursday. Yes, I will, along with the check.
Where are these meetings held at?
They're held at the Springtown Firehouse over on 412.
412.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thanks for that, John. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
You don't want to stay, Larry?
It's not late enough.